Unleashing your creativity with layers is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. All right, hello everyone. I'm going to dive right in. Here is the image we're going to work with. Now, first of all, as a portrait photographer, this right here, this technique is called breaking the neck. And you don't do that. That's something you don't do. You don't break the neck during a pose. But because of the way she looks and the style of this image, we broke the rules because we want it to look off balance or off. We want it to look different and unique. All right. So here's what we did. We added a couple layers, and that's what's going to give us this really cool effect. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start from the very beginning. That'll be the easiest way. So I'm going to come over here, and it's not letting me do the revert to original because that's on this image right here. There we go. All right, so here's the original image. And by the way, that was a garbage bag. Just a regular trash bag, just to put a top on her. What I want to do is start with a crop. So I'm going to start with the crop tool. And what I do want to do is take this to a 16:9 ratio. Cover this up a bit right about to here. Use the rules of third. There we go. All right, so we're off to a good start with the crop. Notice her eyes are brown. The hair is blonde and so on. Well, let's quickly go through a real quick development. So I'm going to come over here to my development tool. I'll select my camera profile, which will do portrait. Nope, let's try another one. Okay, that's good. And it was shot on a black background, but it wasn't, the background didn't appear as black as I would like. So let's come down here to black tones, and we're going to increase the black tones to get that background really looking good. Pop up the whites just a little bit. And of course, add some contrast. All right. So far, the image is coming out pretty good. It's not perfect, but we do want to fix the eyes, get rid of this shine on her chin. So let's come down here, and we'll start with her face is fine. The eyes, we're going to turn to blue. Now, I noticed something. When I did this, the blue didn't pop. So, which we're going to fix that in a moment. I like how the blue is looking, but it's not perfect. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Enhance the eyes. The mouth is fine, but I want to put a little more redness in it. All right, here we go with the skin. And let's get rid of that shine. And we'll smooth the skin out just a bit. All right. So overall, it looks pretty good.
Recording in progress.
Got it. And what I'm going to do is come over here. And I do want to bump up the color, like I said, of that blue. So let's zoom in just a little bit. And so I'm going to crank blue all the way up. And when I do, notice how it takes on the blue of her eyes along with the blue on her skin, which is fine. And I like that. So I'm going to leave it where it is, but I am going to mask it. And the reason why I want to mask it is just in case that blue is appearing on the black. I don't want that. So I want that to be a perfect, beautiful black background. All right. So this is good here. Got the blue looking good. Last but not least, let's fix her hair. And here's going to be something interesting. I'm going to convert the entire image to black and white. Ooh, I love that hair. Look at that hair. Now let's mask it in. Brush. I'm going to paint it. So I'm going to get rid of that blonde. and eyelashes. So all of this here. Now, yes, I know what you're thinking. Could I use Mask AI? The answer is yes. However, I'm not really worried about the black because, again, I'm converting to black and white. So the black's not going to be that big of a deal if I do a little spill. So this looks good here. Oh, we got it. All right. So there we are real quick. Before, after. Now, to save a little time, this is where I would do an export. So I would export this as stage 1, which I already did. I'm going to show you why I'm going to do that. So here we are with the image. Now I'm going to click on the layers. Here's where we're going to get creative. Now, I already did that. So I already created another version of this. But what I would normally do is export it and then re-import it, because this is what we're going to do. We'll take this. Let's bring it over here. Change it to screen. And I want this to be faded into the background. That looks good. So there's 2 things we're going to do. One, since I have it, I'm going to do a layer mask. And I want to use a radial mask here. So I just want her. Now, that's the opposite. So invert it. And I should have just her. There we are, right here in the scene. Good. And then let's move her over a little bit. So I have to click on layer properties. There's my handles. Right about there. Now, I have it set. What I want to put here now is a negative value of structure. And the reason for that is I want to blur that background, blur her. That looks good right there. I'm going to do it again. And then I'll boost up. So I had a negative value, and then I boosted it. There it is. All right, there we go. So now that we have her superimposed in the background, final step here, let's come over here. And I really like these flares. So here's one. Ooh, look at that. Look how it ties it in. And then, to make it look even better, let's add another flare, or let's add another overlay. This time, let's use one of the bokehs. And I'm not positive which one I used originally. All right, this one right here. Oh, I like that. Look at that. All right, good. Now, notice if we look at edits, nothing is here because we didn't apply any changes to this layer or to this layer. We didn't add any tools to either of those layers, but we did add tools to this layer and, of course, the base layer. Now, on the base layer, we're going to take a chance here. Let's see if the Vignette tool is going to help us. So I'm going to come down here and select Vignette, choose my subject. Now, if I applied this on the very top layer, she wouldn't be affected. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of some of this. We may have to do a little cropping. All right, that looks good. All right. All right, so now I have it set just like this. And actually, before I continue with the next step, I am going to crop just a little bit more right about here. There we go. Now I have it set. Now, I really wanted this to have the vignette to it also. So I have a couple options here. I could just come up to here, apply that same vignette and go all the way through, or we could do one final step. What that's going to be is this. And by the way, I noticed that if you're on a layer, you have to make sure that you click the layer if you want to export. So I'm going to export this image. And I'm going to put it in the same folder. Actually, let's see, where did I put? Yeah, Sophia underscore, let's call this version 3. But what I want to do is I want to make sure I browse for the proper location where I'm going to put this. Yep. Okay. So I know it's on my D drive. And I know it's in my photography and adult models. And this is Sophia. And here she is, the Crystal Princess. And I created a folder called Complete. And select, now remember, we came in and we named it version 3. And I'm going to change this to a TIFF because I'm not done editing this image yet. And now I exported it. Now, once we come up with merging layers, I won't have to do this extra step. So this extra step is because I'm getting a little picky here. And what I want to do, come back here to Complete. And let's look for version 3, is I do want to add that little extra to it. Here it is, version 3, TIFF. So notice when I exported it, it came right back into that same folder because I had that folder selected. Now that I have a flattened image, here comes Edit. And to tie everything together, I want to bring in a vignette. Choose the subject. There we go. Now notice all the layers, since we merged them down, are one layer now. They're all getting the same effect with this vignette, and that's the look I'm going for. So once Luminar Neo gets it to where we can merge the layers together, this is what the final step would be inside that last image I just did. So this is just one little extra step. So there we have it. We went from, a simple image shot on a black background, which we would think would be boring, and then we applied this effect to it. All right? Well, guys, that was it. So let's open the floor for discussion. And let me bring this over to here. So if you could, raise your hands if you have a question. Let me bring Zoom in. There we go. All right. I'm sorry, everyone, just one moment. And I'm trying to make my Zoom window appear bigger for you. Give it one more second. Here we go. And it's almost there. Good. All right, everyone. So let's open it up for discussion here. Who has their hand up? Just open your mic and talk.
Dale has his hand up.
All right, Dale, fire away.
Oh, I saw Nick's hand up there, so I thought I was going second. Anyway, my question was, when you brought in the additional layers, those actually matched the color right out of the original image, right? It didn't get affected by the base layer or anything.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
So that right there was called 100% pure luck. When I went through this, I originally added my own bokeh to it. And then I remembered watching one of you added bokeh to your image in one of the contests we had. And I was like, how did they get my bokeh JPEG? And I realized, no, we already have it built right in to Neo. So I went through and just experimented, and that was the first one that came up, and it worked perfect. Now, here's the catch. If I didn't have those colors, what could I do on that individual layer to change the colors to what I'm looking for? Dale?
Probably set a preset with the colors or something on the left.
Yep. So I could use the color tool, change the overall hue until it matched whatever image I have from the background. And because it's on its own layer, it doesn't affect anything else.
Right. The other question is, you can't copy that vignette. You just have to rebuild it on the separate layers, right? There's no copy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Nick?
Yeah, I had a quick question. On the second layer that you did, you added both a duplicate image of her and then you added the light leak as well, I believe it was. How
On
did
the
you add
third
the
layer.
second? That was on the third layer.
Yeah.
You had four items added, but only 3 layers.
Okay,
You
so the
duplicated
bottom
her.
layer, yeah, so the bottom layer doesn't count. That's by itself.
Then the next layer, you
Yeah, so
you
let
brought
me-
her in again to the side. And I thought you added, at some point, you added both a light leak and bokeh.
Yeah, so let me
Oh,
pull it
you
up
just
for you
added the
real quick.
bokeh through the bokeh tool.
Exactly. Yeah, so
Okay.
let me-
I was thinking you were bringing another image in for the bokeh.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
That explains
Yeah,
it.
so originally that's what I did do, but it was so much easier. Oh, there we go. But it was so much easier to use what was already built right into Luminar.
Yeah, great. Karina had a question as well.
All right, Karina?
It was actually similar to the one that we were just talking about. When you exported her, did you just export it as a JPEG original file to create the second layer?
Yeah, so I did. So when I exported her, yes. So I exported her just as a JPEG because I knew the quality wasn't that big of a deal. So you saw what I did to it. I just blurred the daylights out of it, faded in the background. There's no way you're going to see, if the eyes were really blue or if they were brown and so on. So I just needed something back there. Now, in Photoshop, they have what's called a motion blur. So my original image showed it as if she took her head from here and whipped it over to the other side. And that motion blur looked really cool. But after looking at it, I realized, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I really liked how this one came out. It's a different version of that same image.
Okay.
All right.
Would you have made it a smaller file, or did you just do an original file size?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
exported as just a regular JPEG because we could delete it afterwards.
Yeah,
Once
okay.
it's done, now keep in mind if I delete it, let me think. Yeah, so I could delete it afterwards, and if I do, it may affect that original image. That's an experiment I have to try. I haven't thought of doing that yet. So that's why I flattened the whole image when I exported it, and then applied changes on top of that.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. We have one more question, and then we'll stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment.
Yeah, I think John had his hand up next. John
Fire
Wells.
away.
Yeah, I might have missed this, but how do you export a photo so that it becomes or is accessible to a layer?
Okay, so let me pull
To
this up
become a
real
layer.
quick. Gotcha. So let me get this out of the way. One moment, and then pull up Luminar again. There we go. All right. So
You're not sharing.
yep. No, I was getting that one. Okay, so now I'm here, right? So what I did was I just like this image here, for example. I exported it, right, to a folder. Do all of our routine like we normally do. JPEG is fine. Once I exported it to that folder, now if I click on the plus icon, I could browse my machine. Now here I already have it added, but I click on this here, this plus icon. Now from here, it's going to browse the computer, and here it was, right? Let's say right here. And now once I hit open, it's going to add to this. So if I were to say share all, these were all the ones that I've added. You know what I haven't tried yet? Yeah, look at that. Okay, that's cool. So I'm glad I, one more thing to write in the user manual. If I want to get rid of an image I put in there, just right click on it and click remove. So if this starts to get full, yeah. Say again.
They'll stay there forever then, until you
Yeah,
remove them.
so if this is getting full, just right click, remove. There's that original bokeh that I used, but I really like Neo's bokeh much better. I see these are some of the textures and of course my writing, but you can go through and just clean this mess up. Now, keep in mind, these here, the lens flares, you can't do that to these. So stuff that are already built right in, these you can't change. All right, and I'm hoping we get a lot more because I really didn't care for light leaks. In fact, let's just add a light leak here. But man, what they're actually doing, especially if you work with the opacity, look at this. You can actually start to create some really cool and interesting effects. Now for this image, this doesn't work, but you get the idea. Now if I right click here, again, I can remove that layer and I'm back where I started from. All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Let me stop sharing my screen and go back
Nellie, I
to
have a
host.
question.
Yes, fire away.
Just if you added that image for another layer, so it's in your images, and then later you go and remove that image from your loaded images, does it disappear from the layer? So in other words, I go back to re-edit. Is it part of that edit now, or is it have to be?
I'll show you. I'll show you that right at the Ask Me Anything segment. All right.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Hey, thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you really enjoyed this episode of Getting Creative with Layers. And I'll see you at the next coffee break.